Welcome to FOB TV, the future of business. I'm your host, Kevin Benedict. I'm a futurist and lecturer here at TCS. And I want to thank every one of you out there for joining the show today. I'm really excited to dig deep into a topic here we've never talked about, subscription services and everything that goes around that, with our guest, Joe Rohrlich. Joe, thanks for joining us.
Kevin, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, Joe, you're the CEO of Recurly, and we're going to dig into that. But tell me where you're calling in from.
I'm in Austin, Texas, the breakfast taco capital of the world. Also got pretty good live music here and a growing technology scene.
That's awesome. I've been there numerous times, and it's always a kick. It's always fun to do. So you've seen, in just doing my preparation for today's podcast, you've spent most of your career in high tech, and you've served in all kinds of different roles and positions. Which ones of those you think reflect your biggest skill set or your biggest talent?
Well, I think for me, the piece that got me excited, well, let me start here. The thing that got me nervous about working in technology originally was I'm not an engineer. I'm not a technologist. And what I learned over time and where I fell in love with these high tech businesses is that those skills are absolutely required. And at the end of the day, you've got to really find and kind of hone in on an intuition for what's happening in your customer base. And that's the thing that I found I was particularly good at. So I kind of grew up in the sales and marketing and customer side of things. And I found I could be a bit of this translation device between kind of the next pains and problems that our customers were either experiencing or were starting to kind of wake up and think about, and be a translation service back to our technology teams to help them think about how to innovate around those problems. And so I think that served me pretty well, and and ultimately brings me to where I am today.
That's terrific. So, Joe, I'm going to throw out a new question here. If you were talking to a group of college graduates that just graduated just now, what skill sets would you really encourage them to focus on going, brand new into a career?
Well, I think, to me, and we hire at Recurly, we hire a lot of folks who are kind of in that phase of learning and their career and their growth. And to me, the number one thing that I look for, and the thing that I try to coach around, is curiosity. And I think, the reality is, if you kind of can demonstrate and hone in on bringing curiosity to the table, that's going to translate into a tremendous amount of success in all of the different disciplines or domains that we operate in. And so I will, as I said, I kind of grew up in sales originally. And I think we all conjure this image of the person who can, sell a pen to you on its various features. But the reality, especially when it comes to kind of more complex business challenges, is that the thing that actually matters is bringing a deep, deep curiosity about the person on the other side of the table, their business, not only why they're talking to you, but kind of the question underneath that, what happens if they don't address this problem in their business. And so to me, the thing I would, I always encourage folks is focus in on honing that curiosity. The good news is a lot of that gets taught actually, as in quality university environment, kind of in the educational realm. But that's the thing I think, is really kind of important as you forge the early days of your career.
No, well, thanks for sharing that. There's so much you just don't know when you're getting out of college. I remember I was going to Portland State University. I'd been working the last 5 years milking cows on a dairy farm. Yeah. And I took a college internship role with IBM Product Center. So I'm in there, and after 3 days, the boss calls me in there and says, "You know what? I need you to wear a black suit." these khaki pants and button-up shirt. It's not going to work here. So that night, my wife went out. I think we spent the last dollar we had to get me a black suit. But working in that environment, boy, blew my mind, opened up a whole world. Suddenly I'm working with people that when they go on vacation, they go to the Caribbean, they drive fancy cars. And I'm coming straight from the farm.
The thing, I'll share with you one story that I think is, to me is sort of in that spirit. So my first jobs out of college, I worked in the entertainment industry, and I really didn't know what I wanted to do. But I had heard that there was this great opportunity to kind of learn the business of the entertainment industry. And the way you would do it is you would actually get a job in the mailroom of these big firms that would package together, essentially, they would sell movies and television shows. And eventually, if you did well sorting mail in the mailroom, you'd get to become the assistant to one of these executives, one of these agents. And I owned one sport coat you had to wear every day, and you were on the phone all day long. So I had my elbow down like this and burned a hole right through the bottom of it. But the thing about the job that was amazing was that you got to listen in on these calls with people that to me seemed like they were at a whole other level, right, of their career and sometimes their fame and notoriety, bringing together, incredible deals for big blockbuster movies. But the thing that I realized as I kind of was listening to this was that these are just all human beings, all people. They have a lot more experience than I do, but they're not necessarily brighter than I am or more creative than I am. They're just people trying to figure this out together. And to me, kind of that light bulb going off and realizing, hey, I can have a seat at this table as much as anybody else can. That's kind of a big deal, and that because to your point, it doesn't intuitively feel that way.
Oh my! So this gets us into everything from self-confidence to a belief in yourself. You just have to be able to believe you can be there and belong there before you can succeed there.
Right. That's right. That's
wow.
right.
So now you're a CEO. You've got people reporting to you. You've got clients and customers and probably boards and maybe even investors. What part of your job do you like the most and the least today?
Well, it's funny. I'll start with the second piece first. Honestly, I'm having a lot of fun. This is not a situation where it's Sunday night and I'm going, I don't know. I'm having a lot of fun. What do I like the least though? Nobody likes expense reports. It doesn't matter what level you are. It doesn't matter. I have the benefit of having somebody help with that. I'd love to make that go away. That would be my magic wish. But what do I like?
So many companies promise to do that. And I've never been in a situation to take advantage of it.
Yeah, there are some better products out on the market to go streamline that. And that is, and we use one of those, but still a pain. What do I like the most? For me, look, I'll tell you this, the most fulfilling part of my job is watching, creating an environment where a team around me is going to kind of build the next chapters of a business. The thing that I found that I love is not starting a business from ground zero, but is coming in as CEO into a business that has had a lot of success, but is also going to find kind of its next gear in terms of scaling, in terms of becoming more global. And I love kind of creating an environment where I've got a team that says there's a lot that we respect about our culture, that we appreciate about our culture, but also our culture needs to evolve, and we're the people to go do that. Like I can't dictate, I can't sit here and, or I could, but it probably won't work, go say, okay, these are the 5 practices that need to change in our culture. I need to go kind of create an environment and a team dynamic where folks feel empowered to do that and to disagree and to debate with each other and go push it forward. And so I get to see a lot of that happening because we're in a very dynamic space. We're a fast growing company. And for me, that's the most fun.
Got it. It just sounds fantastic. I've had the opportunity to serve in a role as a startup CEO before, and I can appreciate what you're saying right there. So tell us about Recurly.
Yeah. So the funny thing is, Recurly is a name you might not be familiar with. So I am certain that you use Recurly just in the background here.
Yeah.
So we are the way that a lot of the world's best consumer subscription brands drive growth in their business. So when you're using, let's say, a service like Paramount Plus or Twitch, or even in some industries you might not think about, subscribing via Alaska Airlines to their subscription program, in the background you're using Recurly, and those merchants are using Recurly to go manage everything from the pricing and the plans that they present to you as a subscriber to successfully managing your billing on a month-to-month basis and your entitlement, meaning giving you access to the right subscription products. And so we're really a platform that is kind of built for scaling those businesses. A great story for you, kind of great example is I mentioned Twitch, which is sort of the world's leading online gaming company owned by Amazon, Twitch is a multi-billion dollar company in its own right. They started when they were Justin TV, which was one guy named Justin operating in his garage with a great new idea, and they've scaled their business to, again, operating in over 140 markets with Recurly today. So that's kind of a bit about who we are at a high level. It's a technology company first, so it's a kind of cloud-based software that really enables these businesses to move much, much more quickly than they can if they were to try to build this themselves.
So when you took a look at Recurly, what did you see about it and its model and its potential that attracted you to want to join the company and lead it?
Yeah, so for me, this was a very simple story. So number one, I had bought Recurly before as a customer, so I was familiar with it. This goes back 9 or 10 years, kind of early days of Recurly. And I knew, and my impression was, this is a great product. Recurly, basically, our origin story was an engineering leader who was tasked with implementing a system for growing subscriptions. And he kind of evaluated what existed at that time, what was available on the market, and said there has to be a simpler way to do this, where it's not going to take me a year to stand up a new platform and a new system. I can get started in days. And that was kind of the origin and the whole design thesis behind Recurly. That was how I found them as a customer. So I knew that. Recurly had a board member who I had worked for running sales and marketing previously. And he called me and he said, I know you're not interested in leaving what you're doing today, but you should listen to me because this is a perfect fit. Yeah, exactly. He said, this is a perfect fit for you individually. And it's a perfect fit because, number one, first thing I said is it's an incredible product and it's a great technology organization. It's an engineering kind of centric culture there. And so that's already an area of strength in the business. Number two is this is an incredibly exciting market. It's growing across a whole variety of different dimensions, globally, new industries, new scale. And then number three is it's still although it's a great business, it's still very early stage on kind of how does it expand its go-to-market and its customer centricity as a business. And those are areas that you're passionate about, you've got great experience in, you can go help kind of contribute to this company's success. And so I got in, when you're interviewing for a CEO job, the one thing I always tell people is unique is you get to ask a lot of questions. So you get to ask for a lot of data, a lot of references. It's not, it's kind of hard for the board to say no to those questions. And the more that I learned, the more I became convinced that pitch I had received was actually very, very accurate. And I'm nine and a half months in basically right now. And I would tell you, there is almost nothing that has changed on my understanding, perspective, thesis, while I'm here.
So Joe, I had the good fortune of leading a team right after the dot-com era. So it was probably 2003, right around there. And this was pre-iPhone. So we were selling on big old industrial handheld devices, all kinds of technology and things like that. But we were right at the edge where subscription services were starting to be mentioned and talked about in early mobility around Palms and, compact devices and all those things. People were just talking about it. But I remember sitting there and going, but I need every dollar I can get from an app right now.
Right.
I don't want to push my revenue out over 3 years. I need to pay bills today. So there was an evolution of these models. Walk us through that evolution of where software was to where it is today and the role you guys play in that.
For sure. Well, and by the way, and I'll talk about this, one of the most interesting things is that this sort of subscription model did start in software in a lot of ways, but it is evolving very quickly across industries you'd probably be surprised to think of as moving into subscriptions. And I think the reason for this, though, it kind of gets to your question, which is that subscription revenue is being valued, certainly by investors, by public markets, as incredibly high value, incredibly important. And the reason is the predictability of it, fundamentally. So you're right. Of course, you may be taking less cash up front as a business to go do that. But the sort of annuity value of this recurring revenue stream is incredibly valuable. Number two is really the opportunity to create a lifetime relationship with the customer, whether that's an individual or a business customer. So, we talk a lot about net retention, which is really not just about retaining Kevin as a customer, but over time, earning the right to be able to add other services into, Kevin's package. And so the best subscription businesses, they become sort of masters of this. And the thing that they really focus on, probably beyond acquisition of new customers, is that retention, kind of life cycle management of those subscribers. So I think the deal with subscriptions is you kind of step back and you look at some of the craziest sort of multiple companies out there in the market today, is that this revenue is incredibly valuable. That's the reason to go do subscriptions. The challenge with subscriptions is they're operationally they're a pain to manage. I mean, they're hard for the finance department to reconcile from an accounting standpoint. They wreak a lot of challenges on the technology organization to go manage. They are not the way in which businesses have been historically set up, and a lot of our enterprise systems have not set up to really manage subscriptions well. So you have this kind of interesting dynamic. Like every CEO, even again in businesses like retailers or hotels, they're saying, I want some subscription revenue, and their teams are going, this is kind of killing us. This is operationally difficult to do, and that's a little bit of why we exist.
So talk to us about those challenges that your clients have that you guys are set up to solve.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think I'm going to give you a couple just kind of tangible examples that we see. So one of the most common ones is we've launched this subscription business or line of business, new product offering here, and it's up and running and it's got some traction. We're growing the number of subscribers, we're growing the revenue. All of a sudden, our competitors, they come into the market with their own offer or a pricing change. And the person who's responsible for growth says, we got to go change our offer, change our package, change our bundle, change the price. And the technology team goes, well, it's going to be about 8 to 10 weeks because I gotta build new code for that and launch it. And so one of the biggest challenges you see is actually just speed to market. Like subscriptions this industry is evolving very, very quickly. It requires real agility. So one of the things that we do is we basically kind of, without needing to involve the technology team, we give the growth leader a set of tools where they can jump in and make those kind of changes and push them live, in the next hour. So a change to packaging, pricing, bundling, promotions of subscriptions. That's kind of one example. The next kind of big category is, which I was not as educated on before joining, is that actually collecting cash on subscriptions is very challenging thing to go do. And the simplest way to think about this is, we've all had, we're all probably getting more notices from our credit cards than ever about, fraudulent purchase. I got to issue you a new card.
Last week I had that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and oftentimes we kind of go, first thing we think about, we're like, oh, how many things do I need to go update now?
Yeah.
Right. What do I have tied to this card? And so one of the challenges these businesses face is what we call involuntary churn, which means that a subscriber is not deciding, I no longer value the service, I want to terminate it. But there is a problem with their payment. And it could be the example I just gave. It could be their card has expired. It could be, in the US, one of the biggest challenges is actually that, a lot of Americans are trying to kind of make it paycheck to paycheck, right? And so a subscription may come up for renewal and they're not going to get paid for another 3 days. They won't be able to actually process that payment. And so all of these challenges kind of compound and stack up, and they create this big leaky bucket problem for subscription businesses. And so that's another one of the big areas where we take our, we're doing over $1 billion of transactions a month across our network of subscribers. We aggregate all of that data and use it to go better predict how to process folks' payments successfully. When are you likely going to get paid next, so we don't ding you before then? We can connect kind of behind the scenes and understand Kevin's card was reissued. Let's go, rather than failing that payment, let's go update the card, which is partly why your Netflix subscription never dies, if you've noticed that, because they do a great job of those kind of things. So there's a whole range of areas, but those are kind of two that a lot of, when we see a new customer come to our doorstep, they'll say, we're dying on our speed to market, we're dying on lost revenue. And those are areas we can step in right away and go make a difference.
Got it. So when you talk to analysts, Joe, where do they put you? What's the category that Recurly fits in?
This is such a good question, and I have some passion about this. Yeah. So I'd say that the short answer is that we fit into a category called subscription billing from an analyst perspective, and I think that's two kind of challenges with that. Number one is that subscriptions need to be broken down into different categories. The reality is that the complexity that you have managing subscriptions in my business, because I run a subscription business, is incredibly different from if you are Showtime or kind of a large scale, high volume subscription business. I have thousands of customers. I can go analyze where do we know we're having success with customers? Where might we have a challenge? How do we go address that challenge? If you've got millions of customers, you can't sit in a room and go do that, right? So the first challenge with sort of, I think, analysts bucketing everything together in subscription billing is that the needs and the requirements are very different based on the business model. So we focus on that high volume, tends to be kind of lower dollar purchase, but big scale. That's where we play, and where we're seen by customers really as a leader in that. The second area is that billing, which really does literally mean the invoicing, the collection, correct tax association. That was kind of the first order problem to go solve in subscriptions. And we do that, but we do a whole lot more, because again, subscriptions are, to me, you're a futurist, and what I'm excited about is kind of where this is all going next, which is not just about how do I manage kind of the nuts and bolts of what's already happened. Kevin started a new subscription, we got to invoice him correctly and collect it correctly, but how do I actually go predict, what offer Kevin's going to be interested in next and go push that to him. And so there's a lot evolving around the subscription billing space that I think is redefining the category.
Oh, that's fascinating. So as a futurist, I have to ask this question. Everybody's talking about AI.
Yeah.
And it's like, even if you have no story, you have to have a story. You're going to have to redo your, your product names and add AI to your product names.
Right. No, that's true. Yeah. I mean, the good news for us is like, we're sitting in a category, and in particular on a wealth of network data that actually allows us to create some unique value through AI. And I'd say we as a business we've taken not really the road of kind of like, let's just put everybody into a race car and like race to get something to market, but we've been a little bit more methodical on it. So we will come to market. We actually just announced it, but we will come to market with kind of our first AI features in the new year. And the core of like where we think AI plays for us actually connects back to what I was just saying, which is that managing subscription businesses, I call it in sort of like the first chapter of this industry, has been all about streamlining the operations for things that have already happened in your business, which is super important. It's not going away. But that I think the next chapter and the area where this new technology can really make an impact is about helping you to better predict the next actions that you need to take in your subscription business and to be able to take those more efficiently. So, a simple example is something that we are calling insights to action loops. So we provide you today in our dashboards a ton of very granular insight on subscriber behavior today. So we can help you identify a cohort in your millions of subscribers who are at risk of not renewing because some combination of their usage behavior or their payment behavior here today. And a lot of our customers use that data to then think about campaigns and offers, things they can go do. Well, we think we can use AI to sort of shortcut that whole process. So to not only help you go predict the cohort you need to be communicating with, but to then help you in an automated way go build out those next offers and campaigns. And to leverage a combination of our kind of expertise and best practices, but also, again, our unique network data across all of these subscribers to better target, basically better personalize the subscriber experience. So I think the truth, honestly, is that we're in the early phases of this, but Recurly is just so well positioned to like we have to go lead in this area because, again, just our expertise and the quality of our network data is so strong.
Well, the one thing that I need from you, Joe, is a subscription management application for the consumer.
Yes. Well, this is the thing that I will say as a consumer for a second, like not as CEO, I think is so interesting, which is that I think we all feel a bit of this fatigue of like, okay, how many of these subscriptions do I have? And
how many TV services am I paying for?
Right. It's like, it kind of feels crazy. And I know with my kids, I'm like, everywhere I look, there's another one. And so I think there's a little bit of this dichotomy where like, that's true. We all feel that. And I would tell you for our customers, this is why they're becoming more focused on retention of their subscribers, adding more value versus just acquiring. So I think that's a good thing. But the other weird thing is that the truth is, as much as we may feel that, the reality is we're transferring more and more of our money into subscriptions, and it's not stopping. So subscriptions are growing faster than the overall economy today. And we are signing up for subscriptions in these like really new categories. So, I think be on the lookout for things like automotive subscriptions. Again, a ton is going to happen in the travel, the airline space. Think about the loyalty program of the future.
Yeah.
Maybe becoming more of the subscription program. Hey, rather than having to spend $20,000 to earn all these points, get these perks, I can pay, $25 a month and get access.
Absolutely. We talk a lot about mobility as a service in the future, where why would you buy a car
Totally.
When cars here, anytime you need it, the car will just drive up to the front, pick you up, take you, and you don't have to deal with any of the extra stuff that cars involve, insurance, everything else.
Well, I think what you're getting at is the super interesting thing, which is that in so many aspects of our life, there actually is a way to get to better value and better efficiency through, less ownership, basically. And that's the subscription model. I mean, one of the trends I think you're going to see in subscriptions is to better get to that value is less just fixed pricing. You kind of pay the same thing every month, to more variable pricing based on some combination of usage and subscription. But I think you're spot on. Like that's a big trend that's going to take shape.
Joe, thank you so much for hanging out with us today and sharing your insight and kind of pulling back the curtains and showing us how the world works today. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. This was a lot of fun. Really appreciate it.